Hi, everybody. It's Kim Snyder with KAS Business Services, and I'm really happy to see you here today and share some information that I've pulled together to the best of my ability because things have changed literally every single day. So for those of you who don't know much about me, my business is actually located in Spark, Niagara. So Spark has asked me to jump on and do this lunch and learn for them. And we've kind of pulled it together quickly. So it's not polished, but it's the best we can do.
Okay.
I have a bookkeeping, accounting, and tax and business consulting business. And so obviously I stay on top of these things because every single day I have clients and non-clients and all kinds of people reaching out to me on Facebook and email and wherever they can find me to ask me about these things. So it's really important to stay up to date with them. So the reason why I'm doing this is because I really think it's important as business owners. A lot of people are struggling. Some businesses are very hands-on, very bricks and mortar. They're not sure what they should do, what kind of relief might be available to them. So we'll cover some of those things. The other thing that I want to talk about a little bit also is how to think outside the box and maybe reimagine, reinvent, come up with some ideas to see your business a little bit differently. So
before you go, Kim,
yes.
Hi. I just want to, my name is Nicole. I'm with Spark Niagara. I am the event and communications coordinator for Spark, so welcome. What I wanted to do is just give a few instructions before Kim gets started. I don't know how many of you have used Zoom, but you'll notice that everybody's on mute right now. And that's simply because we want to try and lessen the overall noise that can happen when everybody's mic is on. And also this will allow Kim the opportunity to give her presentation. We will be taking questions. Of course, there'll be a Q&A at the end. What we would like to encourage you to do is actually at the bottom of your screen, if you move your mouse, a little chat box will show up. If you want to write your question in the chat box, when you think of it, this way you won't forget it. We'll make sure to address those. And of course, at the end, I'll unmute everybody and we'll be able to ask your questions at that point in time. I think that's about it. There is a function under, if you go under participants, where you can raise your hand. So if something is really burning and you need to ask it right away, you can raise your hand and we'll take it from there. So that's all I have to say. Kim, take her away.
Okay, thanks. So before I start on the presentation, I want to address a couple of things that really are, they're probably very common to everyone on the planet right now, never mind just us as business owners here in Ontario or Canada, wherever you're located. And that is that there is a world of uncertainty. There's uncertainty about a whole lot of things. There's uncertainty about our businesses. There's uncertainty about our families. There's uncertainty about our health. There's uncertainty about our finances. There's uncertainty about what's going to happen, when it's going to end. And in a world of uncertainty, that has the, that's the kind of world that's the kind of thought process. And when you get caught up in those, then you tend to experience what is sort of like a brain freeze. Some people experience it as an anxiety attack. Some people just freeze and they can't think. And so one of the things that we want to do here is create a little bit of certainty of there may be some things that I can address immediately in my business and reach out to get some help for. But another thing that you can think about, and I'll give you an example of myself, is that take a look at when you have uncertainty across all planes, in other words, all areas of your life, which most of us do, it's really important to create some certainty someplace for yourself. So for me, for example, the most important thing for me to do is actually stay home. I have underlying health conditions, and it's really important to me to stay healthy. I live alone, and I am responsible for my business, and I can't do anything with my family right now. They live in Ottawa, which is a long way from me, from Niagara Falls. So I live alone. I have to take care of myself. I'm 100% responsible for that. What creates a lot of uncertainty for me because of those things going on is for me to actually go to the grocery store. That creates a lot of anxiety for me, which creates uncertainty, which means I can't focus, which means I can't function, which means I can't produce the work that I have available to me because obviously people still need their accounting. They still need their tax. So I'm very fortunate to have work that I can work on. So you want to figure out an area that's really important to you to create some certainty so that you can function best. And you will only know what that is. I'm just telling you what I've discovered, what it is for me, because do I have uncertainty about business and clients and everything? Of course. I can't focus on those if I have too much of a concern for me health-wise. So that is what I have done to create a level of certainty to be able to focus on my business. So I just encourage you to think about those kinds of things. What is the number one thing perhaps that I can need some support with, someone to help me with, or even just for yourself to figure out, that's going to help you focus and be able to just continue to function. Because so many of you, you're not entrepreneurs you're entrepreneurs for a reason. You're creative, you're visionary, you're risk takers, because it all involves risk. Regardless of the size of your business, you might be a startup, you might be a large business. I have businesses that are clients that are in the multi-million dollars. And let me tell you, they have as much uncertainty and as many fears and so on. So we're all sort of in this together. So having said that, I just encourage you to give some thought to that. And if there's something there that can help you with that, that will help you stay focused. So now what I am going to do is share my screen and go through the slides. So this is going to be, everything's good, Nicole? You can hear me okay?
I can hear you. Beautiful.
Okay, good. This is going to be an overview of the current federal government of business relief programs. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about some business strategy, because I have been a business coach and consultant for many, many years, and I'm a strategist. So I'll give you some tips. And then what to do next, some ideas on what to do next. The federal programs available to us, I'm not going to talk about the individual programs. We're strictly fixed as sticking to the business side of it. There's way too much information to try and cover everything. I have given relevant links, and I believe Nate's going to be popping them into the chat box as they're on the screen, but I think he's going to be popping them in the chat box too as we go through this. So the various programs that are right now federally, there's income tax filing and payment date extensions, HST filing and remittance extensions, not filing but remittance, I'll get to that. A 10% temporary wage subsidy, a 75% wage subsidy, and a business credit availability program. And there's also one other program which I forgot to put on here, but I have covered in the slides. So the income tax filing, you will find this link here. Nate, I'm assuming, puts on in the if you need any of these links, feel free to message us. So income tax filing. So there are extensions on personal tax filings to June 1st. So usually personal tax filings, and those are not usually applicable to business owners unless you get a T4 from your corporation. So if you are on the payroll of your corporation, you're still subject to personal tax filing. Deadline normally of April 30th. That extension has been June 1st. And then there's extensions on any taxes owing to September 1st. And then self-employed or proprietorships usually file June 15th. That's going to stay the same. That isn't going to change. However, the payment of the taxes owed is also extended to September 1st. Normally taxes are due, even though your filing date is June 15th for proprietorships or self-employed. Usually your taxes are still due April 30th. Just because your filing is not due till the 15th doesn't mean the taxes weren't due. Payroll remittances due are unchanged from whenever your schedule is. So if you have a payroll, if you file quarterly, for example, January, February, March would be due April 15th. That date hasn't changed. However, there are some applicable relief on the payroll remittances, which we'll talk about later. Corporate tax filing due dates. There's only, if your due date is very limited. There's very few people. I have a lot of corporations, and I know a lot of people with corporations. Very few of corporations will fall into this box of their due dates of filing. Due date for corporate tax filing is 3 months after the year end. And however, you have up until 6 months after the year end. So the taxes are due and the filing is due, but it doesn't have to be filed to 6 months after the year end with no penalties. However, there is interest on money owed. HST filing and remittance. All businesses can defer until the end of, is this in my screen? No. Can you guys see my full screen?
No, we just see the presentation.
That's what I mean, my presentation, because actually the chat box is actually blocking my side.
Oh.
So businesses can defer until the end of June any HST, GST payment remittances that are due. So for example, if your remittance was due on March 31st of this year, then it can be extended until the end of June. So that's what that means. It doesn't mean that your filing isn't due, but if you haven't been able to pay it, you can extend the payment until the end of June. And that means that no interest applies until then. And then there's the rules of, it's going to apply for these periods. So February, March, April reporting period for monthly filers. And so those are the periods it's applying to. February, March, and April, and then January 1st and through March 31st, who are quarterly filers. So, and then if you're annual filers, there's a whole calculation on, filing the prior year and so on. But there are some reliefs, so talk to your accountant, talk to your bookkeeper, and they'll help you with that. GST and customs duty payment, which not very many of you will have. I put it in here though. It also has a deferral with it. Payroll and wage subsidies. So there's 2 subsidies available. One is the temporary wage subsidy, which is immediately applicable. The 75% wage subsidy, which as of yesterday was announced, it's going to be delayed 3 weeks. They seem to be having difficulty getting this figured out on how they're going to get this implemented. They've got the rules out, but they just haven't figured it out yet. So the temporary wage subsidy, you can find all the detailed information. There's frequently asked questions, there's sample calculations. I have one sample calculation on one of these slides, and we'll talk about it briefly. It's actually a temporary wage subsidy for 3 months. Starts March 18th to June 19th, which is, for some people, you do payroll monthly. It's a little challenging because it requires a calculation. And you're eligible if you are an individual, in other words, that you have a payroll account. These are all people that have payroll accounts. Your partnership, your nonprofit organization, registered charity, or a Canadian-controlled private corporation. Eligible for the small business deduction. So let's put it this way. If you're a small corporation and your profitability is under $500,000, you're eligible for the small business deduction. So that would be you. You have to have an existing business number, and you already have to have an existing payroll account with CRA as of March 18th. You have to be paying salary, wages, bonuses, or other remuneration to an eligible employee. And then an eligible employee is anyone who is employed in Canada. So presumably everybody who is paying people, technically, these people are working in Canada. Those are the people we're talking about. So this is an example of how to calculate it. And in the short of this is that whatever your total monthly payroll is, the subsidy is 10% of the total monthly payroll, not of the amount that you normally remit. So normally when you put a remittance in, you have your deductions in there. And so what you're remitting is a deducted portion from the employees plus the company portion. That's not what this calculation is based on. It's based on the gross. I copied this actually right off the page. I did not retype this. I actually copied it right off the page to make sure it was correct. There has to be a calculation of from March 18th to, so if you have 2 payroll periods in March, for example, you have to do a calculation from March, from whatever the first payroll period is to March 18th, what the gross payroll. So if you had 2 pays, one before March 18th and one after March 18th, the pay before March 18th is not eligible for this. The pay after March 18th is eligible for this. So it requires you to just pay attention. So what this means is that you can pay less in your payroll remittance, and you can see it can be significant. So in the first scenario, the gross payroll is $20,500. The wage subsidy is $2,050. So what that means is somebody, even though they've deducted those amounts, they get to pay $20.50 less. They keep $20.50 in the company. One of my own clients asked me, do you have to pay that back? No, but you do have to declare it as income. So that'll get added to your income later on. And just a tip, you want to make sure that when you put that in your income later on, you don't put it in an area that is HST chargeable, because you don't want to be remitting HST on that. You don't owe HST on that. It's not a service. And then this is, there's some more there. This is one of the most simple calculations here. So it's telling you over the 3 months, you would get a total 3-month period of $61.50. The maximum allowable is $13.75 per employee. So the maximum, there's 5 employees. So the maximum allowable in this case is $6,875. So the $61.50 is less than $68.75, so you can deduct all of that. Yes, it's a lot of math. Is it worth it to keep $6,000 in your pocket? I sure think so. So when does this start? This one starts with the next payroll remittance due date. So most people will be filing, if they're quarterly filers or even monthly, the next remittance due date for a lot of people will be April 15th. So prepare this calculation, calculate payroll remittance up to March 18th, and then another one from March 18th to the end of the month. And the second calculation is what you calculate the subsidy on. And the first one you give 100% of what you've held back. Okay, so that's that. There are 2 other samples on the page, on that link. So I would suggest that when you're doing this, the first sample I picked because it's usually relevant to most people. But there are other samples, and I suggest you go have a look at them if you're not sure how to calculate it. So the next wage subsidy is a 75% wage subsidy. So right now the information is available up at the finance department. So this is coming, but not for several weeks. They say it might even be up to 6 weeks. The whole purpose of this is to try and help businesses keep employees or rehire them. And it's unfortunate that it's taking so long, because there's still a lot of people that are going to be without a job in the meantime, because I think this could help a lot of employers keep employees, or at least help them pay the salary. So yes, you'd have to have employees that you're still paying, or you have to be rehiring employees to pay. And this will provide up to 75% of each employee's salary. Your business can be any size, but you have to have lost at least 30% of your revenue compared to the same time last year. Again, more math. You have to reapply every single month, and it will apply to the first $58,700 of each employee's salary. So if you have some CEOs, for example, you're paying like $75,000, it's only going to apply to the first $58,700. And it will apply, it will give you $847 per week per employee for up to 3 months. There's no portal yet. You can't go and look at it other than the page I gave you, the frequently asked questions, most of which I have here, honestly, but by all means, go have a look. And of course, there are some businesses, I have some clients of my own who are startups and they may not be showing revenue from the previous year. So how can they show that they've lost? Well, they may consider the prior month. But you're going to have your records available, and you're going to have everything up to date and have a calculation, which I have clients asking me to do now for them. You have to have a calculation to show that you've lost 30%. If you can't show that you've lost 30%, then you don't qualify. So if you've lost 10%, no. If you've lost 20%, no. If you've lost 25%, no. And yeah, so this goes back to you have to show the pre-crisis income was of an employee, and that you continue to pay that employee. In other words, you're probably going to have to show that a payroll pay stub or something. And the businesses are encouraged to rehire the workers and top up the remaining 25%. As far as I can see, it's not a requirement to top up the 25%. I couldn't see that anywhere. It doesn't mean they're not going to implement that or do something different when they actually launch this. But right now, that's the only information that's available. And this is as of yesterday. They finally announced, because up until yesterday, there was actually, other than the fact that it was coming, there really wasn't even the rules or the framework around it. Okay, this is the one I left off the title page. The Canada Emergency Response Benefit. A lot of you may be eligible for this. The purpose of this is to provide those who are without work and ineligible for EI, such as small business owners and self-employed people. So if you own a corporation, I'll start with that. If you own a corporation and you were an employee of your corporation, which I am, if my business wasn't still active and earning income, I would not be eligible for EI because business owners aren't eligible for EI. So even though I'm an employee in my corporation, I'm still not eligible for EI. So this would be me. If you're a self-employed person like a real estate agent or someone who's on commission or does some sort of contract or something like that, technically you are a small business owner, but people tend to think of themselves as self-employed. So those are the kinds of people. Small business owners are mainly unincorporated businesses or self-employed people. A small business owner would not be the corporation. It would be you as the owner, or proprietorship or partnership. Eligibility, you have to reside in Canada, obviously. You have to have stopped working directly because of COVID-19. And you had an income of at least $5,000. Now, I'll be honest with you, the second part of this here is a little this here is even a little confusing to me. I copied it right the way it says. It's a little confusing to me of what it means because you're not eligible for EI or sickness benefits if you're a business owner, typically anyway. So this is a little confusing to me, but this would apply. I think what this is meant to apply to is this is also, let's say that somebody is eligible for EI, maybe eligible for EI, but wouldn't be able to get it. They don't have enough weeks or something like that. Because you still have to have the number of weeks, they waive the waiting period and so on, but I'm assuming that that's what that means. You had an income of at least $5,000 in 2019 or last year up to the date of application. And you're expecting to be without employment for 14 consecutive days. So, and for subsequent periods, initial 4-week period. So the 4-week period would be starting, they seem to be using March 18th as a start date for everything. So though many of you were considered non-essential businesses at some point just within the last 2 weeks. So this would be you. So how do you apply? This one actually is quite easy to apply for. So these are the application states. Now the best way to apply for this is actually to set up my account through CRA. And so what my account is, if those of you have already go and use my account and look up your account, income tax account balances and things like that, you already have that. because that's going to get you the funds quickly, because you can set up your direct deposit and do everything like that. So I encourage you to go set up the My Account. If you go to the link to CERB, it also will take you to that My Account. So the way they've got it set up right now, you can start applying April 6th. However, you have to get in on the first go, you have to be born in January, February, March. Well, that's not me. To go in on April 7th, April, May, or June. Well, that would be me. That would be or on Tuesdays. You apply on Mondays or on Tuesdays, but starting April 7th. July, August, September. You can see what it says. April 8th, November, October, November, December, April 9th, and then any month, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So you can do that. So if this doesn't apply to you yet, let's say you've still got some work, and this doesn't apply to you yet, but maybe it applies to you after next week, then the days apply: Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's actually, I think they're just trying to alleviate the backlog that has been occurring with some of the other programs they released. It's actually not a bad idea. I think it's actually smart. Okay, so the other program, Business Credit Availability Program. This one is intended to provide loans or other type of financial support when you wouldn't normally qualify with a regular lender. However, they want you to go to your own financial institution first. They want you to go there first, and then if you don't qualify there, that financial institution, your bank, whatever it is, credit union, should refer you to this program, because the program is implemented by the BDC, which is the Business Development Corporation, and the EDC, which is the Economic Development Company Corporation. And so it's going to be up to $65 million overall for the whole. The reason why they tell us that is because they want to prepare us to have a deficit. But the rules are this: you have to be a viable business whose access to lending is otherwise restricted. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. You're only going to find out if you go to your bank and find out if you've applied for lines of credit or other kinds of credit lately, and you know that your financial institution, maybe you're a startup, maybe you're not big enough, maybe your profitability level or your profit, your net worth isn't enough to support the regular kinds of lending that you would get, then they should now direct you to the BDC. There was a link on the BDC before. I can't find it now. I'm thinking that they might have taken it down because too many people were going there direct. They really want you to go to the financial institution. Because everywhere in the document, over and over and over again, it says, contact your financial institution first. This is currently available, so you can begin working on this now. And then there's another, there's another program, the Canada Emergency Business Account. So this will give you, sorry, I just messed this up. Look at there. I was doing so well. Okay, so the Canada Emergency Business Account tells you what's available. Up to $40,000, zero interest for the first year. And again, you have to go to the financial institution first. It's a part of this BCAP program, so the rules on the prior page apply. The other program is SME, which is Small Medium Enterprise Loan and Guarantee Program. Again, I copied this right off the page. The BDC is co-lending with your financial institution. It's a commercial interest rate, 10-year repayment rate. No other details available. So again, I would go to your financial institution and go from there. I think that the one thing that this program is encouraging, as far as what I understand, one of the intentions of the government for this program is that lending organizations relax some of the rules a little bit. It doesn't mean they're going to, but hopefully not everybody's going to have to go through the BDC if they don't qualify. Maybe there'll be some maybe your banks and credit unions and lenders will be a little more willing to work with you, but that remains to be seen. I have no idea. So this is how you apply. And again, this is right off the page. You can email the BDC here. I'm going to expect that if you do, they're going to direct you back here, because this is the first thing. Please contact your financial institution directly, and then it will contact the BDC and EDC appropriate. I would do this because honestly, your financial institution knows you, and if they send you to BDC on your behalf, imagine if you're trying to go here directly, you and how many other millions of people. I would start here anyway. And then this is the EDC. So if you have further questions, then you could go there. Okay, so those are the programs. Are there any specific questions on the programs that we need to address right now? I can't really address questions specific to situations on this call because it's that would just be too difficult, but let's see what you got there.
Okay, well, I'm going to unmute and see what. Okay, so everybody's been unmuted at this point. So if you have a question, just raise your hand, which is, again, if you go under participants, you will see a little raise hand button. Just push that and then you'll be able to ask your question.
And if there aren't any, that's fine. We'll just move on.
Yeah. No, I don't see any questions at this point.
Okay.
So we'll mute everybody again and you can keep going.
Okay, good.
Okay. Oh, shoot. Hang on. I muted you by mistake too.
All right, so you missed every wonderful thing I just said. I really didn't say anything other than, okay, business strategy. Okay, so this is what we all want to know. What now? And I've fielded a lot of these calls. What do I do? What do you need to do? Cash is king. Cash is always king. So, and this is what I tell my clients all the time. It doesn't matter what your profitability is. You have to take a look at what your cash is and cash flow is. So your primary, the primary thing that you want to do is take a look at your cash flow situation. And if you have some memberships, some things that aren't serving you or earning you income right now, you want to consider letting those go for now. You can go back to them. Take a look at your expenses and see what is it that I'm spending money on is not absolutely necessary right now. I'm not talking about things that are keeping your business going. I'm talking about things that we all do and, you know, have little things here and there. I like to have this. This is not the time for those kinds of luxuries. This is the time for you to start taking a look at that. So that's the expense side of it. The other side of it is, what are my possibilities as far as my existing client base? So I'm talking to those of you who still have, you know, are still able to earn some income. Like, for example, I still am able to earn some income. So what is it I have, you know, what is it that I have done? Reached out to every single one of my clients, find out how I can help them. What do they need? What kind of support do they need? And also seeing what kind of struggles that they're experiencing, because that can also help me anticipate what might be a problematic for me as far as my revenue cash flow from certain clients. It doesn't mean I shut the clients down at all. No, no. It just means that I just have to be prepared for my own planning. So that's what you can do from your personal perspective of taking a look at your cash flow. And we should, by the way, we should always be looking at our cash flow. We should always be on that kind of planning. Not everybody's a numbers person. I'm a numbers person. Some people tell me I'm OCD. So be it. I know my numbers. So you want to know your numbers. The other thing is that you want to do is review the programs and your eligibility for each of the programs, and do that now. You might not need it right now, but do that now. Go and check out the various pages that, you know, I've put up there for you. Go and take a look at what might be available for me, so that that can be part of my planning, your planning. Remember I talked about certainty and uncertainty. So, okay, so if this isn't going to work for me, that's the kind of thing you might be saying. If I'm not going to be earning my income, or it's dropping below 30%, then I might qualify. It's not there yet, but I might qualify for this program. Be prepared, have your numbers ready so that you can go apply for that program immediately. And that's why I say get your books and records up to date, because they are going to require you to show some sort of financial projection on what you earned last year, what you're earning this year in the same period of time. I've been in this business for 30 years. I can tell you most people probably can't do that in a heartbeat. And so reach out to your bookkeepers, reach out to your accountants, see what you need to do to get your books and records up to date. And you might have to budget some of that too, because in order for you to apply for these programs, you're going to have to do that. Apply for any program immediately you might be eligible for. And if you're not eligible for any program right now, I am not eligible for any program probably. I haven't looked at BCAP because it's not, right now it's not necessary for me, and I'll just leave it for people it's necessary for. If you're not eligible for any program, strategize carefully, and then reach out for help. Entrepreneurs and business owners tend to not reach out for help. We all need help. We all need support. And sometimes it's just a matter of being overwhelmed and needing somebody to, listen to you, talk your way through. Most of us know the answers. It's just sometimes, I talked about being stuck in uncertainty and getting stuck in your head and just stuck. Then you are, then that's when you become less productive. And so sometimes you just need to reach out to somebody and say, I need some help. And I'll tell you, I was having a terrible time. This is with my tax program the other day. It just would not file. And this has happened sometimes with tax programs. It would not file this one form. I tried over and over and over again, and it was driving me crazy. And I needed to get it done because it was the deadline. The client had gotten it to me late, and that was literally the last day we could do it. And it wouldn't go. I ended up in a very long queue for support. I tried solving it myself, very long queue for support. By the time they got to me, I sounded like a crazy person. I know I did. When I told them, I said, I'm a crazy person right now. You need to help me, please. So we all sound like a crazy person right now and then. That's okay. Find somebody that can handle that. What to do next? Reimagine your business. Dave Angelo, thank you for that word. Dave and I were doing a discussion on what some businesses can do, and I was like, reinvent, re-engineer. Those are all like, it's really about reimagining your business. And what do I mean by that? So on Friday, I was talking to someone had contacted me. It's not a client, and they have a business that is seminar based. In other words, workshop based. They don't do it all in a workshop setting. And so she said, and she uses music and sound, and it's kind of a meditation, and she's used to having, instruments for all of these things. And it's like, what do I do? I said, well, can you deliver? So think about it. Can you deliver some of what you're doing over Zoom? Well, yes, but then, what about the drums and then this and then that? And I said, okay, so everybody has pots and pans in their house, right? Right? Well, remember when we were children and we found all kinds of surfaces that were great drums. So get your clients involved. Get them involved in helping to create and imagine, because they obviously see it. They know you. They come to you regularly. There's obviously a value for them to keep on coming. And right now, people, this is about, she does some mindset. This is about, people need this kind of stuff. They need something to get their mindset. So don't give up on this, recreate it. So, so then that opened up the door for her to start thinking about creativity and being, what's possible. That's what I mean by reimagine your business. So if you normally do your business a certain way, there are some businesses, granted, that are going to take, it's going to be somewhat difficult. We're not talking, so a restaurant, how does a restaurant reimagine their business? Well, some of them have suddenly gone takeout and delivery overnight. They've never done it before, and they're learning the rules and on the fly. There are some organizations people are doing deliveries now that have never done deliveries of food and medications and so on. I mean, there's all kinds of taxi services and rideshare programs and all kinds of things that have switched to that because there's really not people taking those services anymore. But there's many of us who are taking deliveries other ways. So those services are needed. Retailers, if you have the ability to do anything online at all and set up an e-commerce store quickly, then do that. If you don't, then what else could you possibly do? Sometimes it's taking a look at what other contribution can I make? Take a look at, ask yourself this question: what do people need right now? And how can I help? That's how you're going to get resourceful. What do they need and how can I help? Because what they need right now might not be what you had normally offered at the moment, but it may be something else that you've never really put out there. And you could do that, and it's probably needed. So, for example, who would have ever thought that we would need the kinds of grocery store? They're hiring hundreds of thousands of people in the grocery stores. Who would ever thought that we would need that? Who would ever have thought that we're re-engineering auto manufacturers and auto parts manufacturers? Literally overnight, they're retooling their whole manufacturing plant to create healthcare products. Who would have ever thought that that was necessary? Now I just read lately that they're looking to Canadian industry to try and produce medications that we normally get, products from places like China and India, which right now are, they're just not available. So the the Emergency Measures Act that they've passed actually allow people to go outside patents now to some degree. So those are the kinds of things that be aware that the environment has changed, the ability has changed. I can remember, I'm old enough to remember this. Some of you are, some of you aren't, but this is the story of the CD invention. Way back when I was a kid, there were 45s, which were little records that you played on the record player. And then all of a sudden, there were the LPs, there were the big albums. And we had those for years. That's why everything's called a record. And then suddenly in, I think it was the 80s, those of you who are old enough to remember that, nod, please. It was the 80s. I can remember going over to a friend's house and they had spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on this CD player and some CDs. And it was like, what is this thing? And you spent that much money, and like, why? And the next thing you know, what happened to the LP industry? It literally disappeared overnight.
Yep. Nobody
thought that CDs would ever take off. Look what happened. And now what's happened to the CD industry? For those, look at Blockbuster Video. They didn't recreate themselves to be digitally oriented before the digital age came. It didn't mean they couldn't have, but they didn't. So things that have disappeared, they had the opportunity to reimagine and reinvent, and some of them did it well, some of them didn't. So that's the environment we're in right now. The good thing about uncertainty, the good thing about chaos, order always, there has to be chaos before there can be order. It may be a new order. It may be that, something different is out there that you never ever imagined would be possible, and you can now do. So that's what I want you to think about. There's always hope. There is always something to do. And if you're feeling really stuck, ask somebody else. Can I help you? Partner up with somebody. There may be somebody out there that, maybe you're really good at running a business and they're really good at doing what they do and they really not good at running a business. Well, maybe you can help them run their business and partner up. So maybe there's some things that you can do there. There's going to be partnerships formed that we never imagined before. and then take action. And I say massive action. What I mean by that is you just got to sometimes throw everything at it. And right now, this is a time to kind of throw everything at it. You want to have a strategy, you want to have a plan, so you're not just like throwing it massively all over the place. Don't be afraid to take whatever action you think you can take. Reach out, apply for the programs, and sit down and take a look at what might I be able to do with my business. So this is how you can reach me. If I get an influx of emails, I'll have to admit that I may not get back to you all right away. The best thing to do is we have this Facebook group, and actually Spark put this together, and I'm one of the admins on it. So the Facebook group is a really good place to, Nate, maybe you can put this one in, you probably did already. This Facebook group is a really good place for you to come and ask for support and ask your questions, because not only are we answering you, or am I answering you directly, it can help other people also. So don't be afraid to reach out with your questions, and don't be afraid to ask for support. And I know Spark also is not, right? Spark is also there to help businesses. That's their mandate. That's what they're there also for. So thanks. That's the end of the presentation. I'm going to go back to my video for me on me. And if there's any other questions.
Okay, so well, thank you so much, Kim. Really appreciate all the information and the great ideas that that you gave us. You know, thinking outside the box and reinventing, reimagining, or even expanding your business. So I'm going to unmute people now. So everybody is unmuted. And so if you have any questions or thoughts, now would be the time to ask. We still have 10 minutes before the end of this time, so go for it.
Yeah, so ask any question. Oh, and one thing I'm going to say, I'm just looking at my notes because I was talking. So one of the things I'm going to suggest you do is like what I did, is reach out to every single one of your clients. Current clients first. So you want to take a look at your current clients. You want to take a look at, so the situation I was talking about is, you know, take a look at your current client list. They're your hot list. Those people have worked with you in the past. They're continuing to work with you. You can probably connect with them, keep that connection strong. And then take a look at your past client list and email them out. And so what you want to be doing at this point is asking people, are you okay? Is there anything I can do? I emailed my whole client list and said, you know, I just want you to know, I'm thinking about you. I do. I think about all of them every day. And I'm here for you. And, you know, if you need anything, please get in touch with me. Don't think you're bothering me. Like, that's what I'm here for. So, and so those are your two #1 areas to take a look at. And then also reach out to any networking relationships you've already built, or because right now, those of us who are big networkers, and I'm one of them, we go to a lot of the networking events, they're not available right now. So, but reach out to the people that you've already connected with and just find out if they're okay. Because you might be surprised what that conversation will bring.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So does anybody have any questions for Kim?
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I appreciate you joining us, and I appreciate you giving me your time. Your time is always really valuable.
Yep.
And again, we're here for you.
Absolutely. And
thanks, Spark. Thank you guys for asking me to do this.
Well, you are very welcome, Kim. We are going to continue to have these meetings or workshops once a week. Every Thursday, 1 o'clock, we will have a different one. We are in the middle of setting up our next one. So keep an eye out on our Facebook and our Twitter and page. And yeah, reach out, stay in touch. Spark is here for you. Kim is obviously here for you. We are in this together, so let's stay safe, stay home if we can, and until next week. Thank you again so much, and I'm going to be ending this meeting effective right now. So have a great day, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye.